Ukraine, after the Russian war of invasion, is going to be a very interesting place. And I think an element of realpolitik has to enter into whatever arrangement is made, because there will have to be an accommodation with Russia itself. The real problems lie in Crimea and in the Donbass area, which Russia annexed really as far back as 2014. So the invasion of the Donbass took place a long time ago, long before last year. And it was an invasion masterminded by the Wagner Brigade, which is probably why the Wagner Brigade is so tolerated and why Prigozhin enjoys such free rein in this conflict even today. Because, frankly, he has nothing of credit to offer in terms of battlefield skill or in terms of diplomacy. It's simply he's been there the longest. And what we've got in Russia is an example of ethnic cleansing. And it's not only in the areas seized in Ukraine, it's also across a lot of Russia itself. The population movements are extraordinary. Let's start with Crimea, because any sort of solution to the Russian invasion needs to take account of Crimea. And Crimea is odd because it's been heavily infiltrated by Russian military. There's very much evidence that of ethnic cleansing, particularly since the invasion last year, but also since the 2014 acquisition. So should Crimea be captured, first of all, most of it will be laid waste, because that's the nature of this war. There will be very little infrastructure left. Should Crimea be recaptured, the population will need to be replanted, and the population that exists now almost certainly will not exist then. So can Crimea be retaken as part of Ukraine? Yes, but at tremendous expense. It won't be the Crimea we know today. The same thing with the Russia captured Donbass. As for, I think the first step that Ukraine should take is to recapture the areas of Luhansk and the Donbass, Donetsk, which go beyond that 2014 seizure. And I think I think one has to be realistic. In the end, Ukraine needs to live with its neighbor, Russia. It's the only way forward. And that may mean some sort of negotiations for Russia to retain access to Crimea and access to the Russian-controlled Donbass. If that's the end result, then maybe it's something which needs to be considered now rather than later. I'm not doing an Elon Musk here. I'm not saying that Ukraine should casually surrender the peninsula to Putin and call it a day. I'm simply not saying that. I'm saying that the end result may well be a recognition that Russia has access to the Crimea. So maybe that's something that needs to be factored into negotiations now. And should the Crimea be Russian? No, the Crimea should be Ukrainian. Should the Crimea be occupied by or given access? Should the Crimea give access to the Russian Navy? Yes, I think the answer is yes. I think that's a I think that's a valid agreement. Should there be a Russian-speaking population in the Donbass? Yes, but I still think it should be under Crimean control. But I think that is the way forward. That is a negotiating position. It's not a surrender. It's not a capitulation. It's a negotiating position.